Before we proceed, I want to take a moment to thank the people who made tonight possible. It really is quite an event to pull off, and the job they do is amazing. First and foremost among those is Melissa Dempsey, and this is her first year taking it on, and she has done an unbelievable job. She's the coordinator of our community service program, and I'd love to give her a great big round of applause. Yay. Melissa was assisted by Kay Steves, who was our former community service coordinator, as well as a host of other staff members, parents, and student volunteers. In addition, Dan Drinkwater has coordinated the audio-visual portion of this event, including putting together the video that we will view in a few moments and the slideshow at the end of the program. And finally, Brendan Hearn has, as usual, helped bring together all the pieces necessary for this event. So thank you to all of them for putting this all together. On stage with me tonight are Melissa Dempsey and Kay Steves, as I introduced them, and School Superintendent Steve Mills, as well as two staff members we have invited to help us congratulate the award recipients. Kendra Harrison, in the red scarf, is a Spanish teacher here at AB and a member of the Community Service Advisory Committee. Kendra led a group of Spanish students on a community service trip to the Dominican Republic and has served as a training director from Amigos de las Americas, a program in which youth train to complete a summer of service with NGOs and other organizations in Latin America. Her personal volunteering also includes 3 years of experience as a big sister and a variety of other volunteering on weekends and during the summer. Our other participant at the end there is Debbie Trench, one of the secretaries in our main office. In addition to her amazing work at AB, Debbie has been a youth leader at Mount Calvary Lutheran Church for 22 years. And in that capacity, she has helped countless young people gain volunteer experience through mission trips and urban and local service projects. We invite these folks to be on stage with us every year. Every year we try to recognize 2 or 3 faculty members who have really gone above and beyond themselves in the world of community service to be here with us to help congratulate students and to illustrate that volunteerism extends beyond just your teenage years. So thank you, Kendra and Deb, for being here with us. As the next part of our program, every year we do this, and the Youth in Philanthropy program, I'm going to invite them to come up, and I'll say a word about them as they come. So come on up on the stage, students, and I will say a few words about it. This is a program that is in its 8th year. It's an activity here at AB. It's in its 8th year, and essentially what the students do is to raise money and then go through the task of accepting applications and deciding where to award that money. So they go through sort of a philanthropic experience and have a chance to try that out here. So tonight they are here to present where they have decided to donate that money that they have raised. So I am going to turn it over to them now. We'll start with a word from Rachel Sagan from the Acton Box. Liz Markowitz. As I was saying, Liz Markowitz from the Acton Boxborough United Way. Thanks.
Slight change of plans. Rachel couldn't make it tonight. So as Alik said, I'm Liz Markowitz. I'm the president of Acton Boxborough United Way. We're a local philanthropic organization, and our mission is to identify and raise awareness of community needs and to raise and allocate funds to help meet those needs. Many of you may have even attended the Chris Herron event last week. We co-sponsored that and funded that with the PTSO. And that's just in response to the perceived problem with substance abuse in our community. So as an organization, we really do like to be active in the community. And tonight I'm here because I am here to introduce the Youth in Philanthropy program, which is part of the United Way. YIP provides an opportunity for young people to get involved in philanthropy, and it teaches them how to give back to their communities. They've conducted their own fundraising activities throughout the year. They've evaluated grant applications from local nonprofits, and they're here tonight to announce their decisions and the process that they went to in deciding on the grant recipients. So please welcome the YIP volunteers. Is it Nikita? Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Nikita Khan. I'm a senior here at AB.
I'm Ashika Nagarajan, and I'm also a senior at AB.
And we are the co-presidents of Youth and Philanthropy.
This year, we're funding 4 nonprofit organizations from our local community, and we'd like to thank a few people that helped us raise $8,000.
Okay, so the United Way, Acton-Boxborough Regional High School, the Clement and Jesse Stone Foundation, Catherine Coleman and Tom Mullen, Acton Lions Club, Innovation and Information Consulting, contributions from faculty and staff to AB's United Way campaign, and all those who contributed to our fundraisers, and of course our wonderful advisors, Mrs. Clinton and Mrs. Nugent. I'd like to call Angela to say a few words about the restoration project now.
So first off, we chose to donate to the Restoration Project. The Restoration Project provides rehabilitation to adults with mental illnesses and injuries and other special needs. They focus on restoration through the process of building and upholstering furniture. So now we'd like to invite Eloise Newell to receive our donation of $1,400.
Hi. The second organization we're giving money to is the Discovery Museums in partnership with Indian Hill Music. We're giving them $2,000 to sponsor a really great event that they have at the museums. It's called Especially for Me. What they do is they provide a night especially for kids with autism to really give them a special night there at the museum. So we'd like to invite Neil Gordon to give him the check.
Another organization we chose to donate to was the Acton Food Pantry. The food pantry serves families in need in Acton and surrounding towns by collecting and donating various types of foods. We donated $500 to the Acton Food Pantry to go toward providing holiday dinners for the families it serves. We also agreed it was a good investment because by funding them, we would directly aid our friends and neighbors in Acton-Boxborough. So we'd like to invite Donna Batari to receive our check.
So the last organization that we funded was the Dolly Atamian Campership Fund, and they provide scholarships for after-school programs and summer camps for children of families that can't really afford them. And so we decided to fund this organization because not only does it have a direct impact on Acton and Boxborough, but it impacts many of our own peers. So now we'd like to invite Nancy Kolb to take our check of $4,000. All right, and on behalf of everyone in our Youth and Philanthropy family, we'd like to thank you.
Good evening. As Dr. Callan said, I'm Steve Mills. I'm the superintendent of schools, and to answer your question, no, I don't know if there'll be school tomorrow. Dr. Callan and Mrs. Dempsey asked me if I would introduce this year's Martin Luther King Jr. video, which you'll see in about 3 or 4 minutes, and I am very honored to do so. By way of introduction, I would like to share with you my own personal experience of being a teenager, approximately the age that you are now, at the time of the Martin Luther King Jr. civil rights movement in the late 60s. The first thing to keep in mind is that at that time, television was a very new and exciting media available to middle-class families, like the Mills family in Worcester, Massachusetts. Television was only invented in the 1930s. It only became commonplace in middle-class homes in the 1950s. As a child and teenager, my most poignant memories of television were John Kennedy's assassination and funeral, the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King's assassination and funeral. Part of the genius of Martin Luther King Jr. was that he understood at a very early time the influence of television on public opinion. Now, I need to tell you, I assure you very briefly, a bit of my own history and how all of this affected me as a teenager at the time. My parents' names were John and Peg Mills. I was the fourth of 6 children. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was an accountant. To say that we were middle class would be generous, but my parents were very proud people. Our family went to church every week, and we were taught, among many other things, to be patriotic. Neither of my parents expressed emotion very comfortably, particularly my father. He was very stoic. I never saw him particularly jubilant. Then again, I never saw him cry. He was a very even-tempered man. He was very conservative in his political thinking. My parents voted faithfully every November, whether it was a local, state, or national election. Other than that, they were pretty private people. They didn't get involved in things like city council meetings and civic meetings of that type. So as a young teenager, along with my parents, I saw live much of the video that you're about to see. I wasn't there down south, live meaning I saw it as it was happening in real time on television. In addition to these scenes, there were also a lot more very graphic and violent video that African-American people being beaten, fire-hosed, and attacked by police dogs. Unfortunately, this is fairly commonplace in the late 60s. As I referenced just a moment ago, I rarely, if ever, saw my parents emotional, but I distinctly remember my father being very upset, even yelling at my mother. He wasn't angry with her, he was just yelling about what he was seeing on television, saying, "Peg, this is just wrong. It's just not right. I can't believe what they're doing to these people." It emotionally affected my parents profoundly, and therefore the 6 of their children. Back in those days, there were no laptops, only old-fashioned typewriters. I remember writing my high school papers. And back in those days, kids, I know it's hard for you kids to relate today, but if you made a mistake on the typewriter, you had to rip the whole page out and start it all over again. It wasn't like things are today. So my father sat down at the family typewriter and began writing lengthy letters to our U.S. congressman, to our 2 United States senators, one, ironically, the only African-American in the United States Senate at the time, a guy by the name of Ed Brooke. The other name you will most certainly recognize, a very young senator from Massachusetts by the name of Ted Kennedy. When my father got no response after a few weeks, he wrote them again. Martin Luther King Jr. understood that most people, whether white, black, Asian, were fundamentally good people. It would not tolerate such horrible injustice if they could do anything about it. The civil rights movement was successful in the 60s because of Martin Luther King Jr.'s courage and because of the tens of thousands, even millions of John and Peg Millses across the country that wrote to their elected officials to demand action against the injustice that we were witnessing all the time on television. 40 years later, I was the deputy superintendent of the Worcester Public Schools, had the opportunity to travel to Atlanta, Georgia, with 15 colleagues from Worcester and hundreds of principals and superintendents from across the nation. The tourist attractions in Atlanta, Georgia, to this day are Fox Studios, Turner Broadcasting, and Turner Field, home of the Atlanta Braves. All of my colleagues wanted to see those tourist attractions. I had no interest in those. I remember distinctly as a kid your age, the vision on television of the Ebenezer Baptist Church. That's what King had preached as a young minister in the late 50s and 60s. That's where I wanted to go if there was any free time during the conference. There was a resting place and memorial museum to King at that site. Today, that Ebenezer Baptist Church looks exactly as it did back on TV in the 60s. The hotel I stayed at was on Peachtree Boulevard, a famous street in Atlanta, home to 70 and 80-story glass tower hotels, quite a bit of wealth. The 2-mile walk to the Ebenezer Baptist Church and King's final resting place brought me through extreme poverty-stricken sections of Atlanta, including where the church is itself. After getting a mile away from the hotel, there were no other white people anywhere. The entire population was African American. After visiting the Ebenezer Baptist Church in King's final resting place, I went to McDonald's across the street. And again, I was the only white person within a 1-mile radius of my body. I felt completely safe. In fact, people there were very friendly to me. 50 years before that, I would have been a dead man if I had taken that walk, and most certainly any African-American man would be a dead man if he walked in a similar white neighborhood. That was the effect that Martin Luther King's leadership in public service in America had on me as a young teenager. As King himself said, and I believe is it on the program here, everybody can be great because anybody and everybody can serve. My parents also believed another one of his famous quotes, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." As you are recognized tonight for your community service in honor and memory of Martin Luther King Jr., never forget that you already are great because you already are serving. Thank you. Please turn your attention to the screen.
Martin Luther King was really the new kid in town. He was a young preacher with a brand new baby and a pretty wife.
And when he opened his mouth to begin to speak, it was unbelievable.
On the 5th of December, 1955, fine, dignified, disciplined, courageous seamstress from this community was sitting down on a bus. Sister Rosa Parks, with dignity and discipline, said in substance that the cup of endurance has run over. I can take it no longer. Martin Luther, back in the 16th century, who said, "Here I stand and I can do none other, so help me God." It was Rosa Parks who on the 1st of December said, "Here I sit and I can do none other, so help me God."
The atmosphere was charged with so much hatred at that time. I mean, it was a mean, ugly time.
We still have the attitude of love, and we are still insisting that violence is self-defeating, that he who lives by the sword will perish by the sword. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Suddenly he turns and moves away from his manuscript, almost rolls his eyes toward the heavens, and says, "But I still have a dream."
I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream.
From then, the speech takes on an entirely different character. The judgmental prophet, the Jeremiah, gives way to the visionary who sees a better day.
When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last."
The I Have a Dream was sort of like Lincoln's "of the people, by the people, for the people." It was our declaration of independence, our declaration of freedom, and our Gettysburg Address.
The March on Washington and the passage of Kennedy's Civil Rights Bill, pushed through Congress by President Lyndon Johnson, were triumphs for the civil rights movement. But the next year, when they pressed Johnson for new guarantees for the right to vote, they met resistance.
Lyndon Johnson explained to us why we couldn't have a Voting Rights Act. And he was very apologetic about his powerlessness as president.
The movement would once again decide to challenge the conscience of a president.
It would be detrimental to your safety to continue this march. Go home or go to your church. This march will not continue.
The power of the civil rights movement and of King and of the strategy of nonviolent civil disobedience was that it assumed that the opponents knew in their hearts that they were wrong.
The next thing you know, Lyndon Johnson was introducing a voting rights bill with the words, "and we shall overcome." And so you saw that this was a government of the people. and the people had the power, not the president.
What I find remarkable about Martin Luther King is that he was willing to cooperate with politicians, most significantly with Lyndon Johnson. And yet, King was able to maintain his distance, his prophetic distance from power and from the lures of power.
And so just as I say, we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Look there above the center, where the flag is waving bright. We are going out slavery. We are bound for freedom of life. We mean to show Jeff Davis how the Africans can fight as we go marching on. Singing glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. We are done with hoeing cotton. We are done with hoeing corn. We are colored against soldiers, just as sure as you are born. When the rebels hear us shouting, they will think it's Gabriel's horn as we go marching on. They will have to pay us wages, the wages of their sin. They will have to bow their foreheads to their colored kith and kin. They will have to give us house room, or the roof will tumble in as we go marching on. We're singing glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on, we began the proclamation. Rebels, hush it as you will. Then the birds will sing it to us, hopping on the cotton hill. The possum up the gum tree couldn't keep it still as he went climbing on. Abraham has spoken, and the message has been sent. The prison doors have opened, and out the prisoners went to join the Sable Army.
Of the 747 students who are receiving awards this year, 130 are freshmen, 186 are sophomores, 251 are juniors, and 180 seniors. The reported service hours for 2012 for all of the students is 77,729 hours. So the numbers are amazing. They are so impressive. But more important is that how community service has become part of the culture at AB. And also what all the students who do take part in volunteering get out of all of the activities they take part in. In addition to the individual volunteering that all the students do, we also have a substantial list of group volunteering that takes place at AB. And so far this year, we've had quite a few activities. Clubs, classes, and teams undertake the planning of these projects, from the field hockey teams Play for the Cure, to the holiday clothing drives, the Toys for Tot drive by the sophomore class, and also the important role that the Ambassadors program plays in welcoming new students every year and welcoming the freshmen. And you can see a full list of all of the group activities out in the reception area after the ceremony. So before we start the student recognition, we're going to have our first student speaker come up, and I want to introduce Senior Prakhar Sahai.
Volunteering can be a transitory activity, or it can become a form of education. Like many of us, I worked for the town library, Discovery Museums, Nara Park, and HERM. Each experience was more enriching than the last, and now the Boston Museum of Science has become a central part of my life. The museum has allowed me to cultivate my passion for science, as well as a sense of adulthood and independence. It's helped me choose my career path by fortifying my medical knowledge. From a single year of volunteering at the museum, I have acquired enough charming memories to last a lifetime. Some are interesting and thought-provoking. Others are just plain funny. Sometimes I dissect sheep eyes, hearts, and lungs. During one eyeball dissection, a woman approached and asked, "Ooh, what is that? And where is it in the body?" I replied, "It's a sheep's eyeball." She absentmindedly repeated the latter question, "And where is it found in the body?" Just yesterday, during a heart and lung dissection, I let a very young girl put her hand in a baggie and feel the sheep lungs. For 10 minutes, she continually prodded and squeezed the slimy organs and refused to give the baggie to other visitors. If only I had the heart to tell her what she was really poking at. There's a first time for everything, and the sooner the better. I rode the commuter train and MBTA alone for the first time. I received the master key to a building for the first time. I even used an espresso machine for the first time. I successfully turned volunteering into the epitome of experiential learning, and that's the kind of achievement we want to convey to college admissions offices. Despite no longer being eligible for more community service awards, I shall continue to volunteer at the museum through college. I have many perks, such as admission to dozens of museums and other institutions, and discounts at the museum gift store, parking, and food court. What a great way to learn while volunteering and be recognized for it. Thank you.
Okay, we're now ready to start presenting the certificates for students with at least 25 hours of service. Would all students holding a card with a yellow dot please come forward quickly and start coming right up the stairs. We'll see how I do with the names. All right. Varon Colonathan. Colin Lemire. William Hugh. Sarah Lemire. Susanna Zalk. Emily Glode. Allison Lilienfield. Carly McNeish. Christopher Kokinos. Ivy Yang. Devin Christensen. Jonathan Bourne. Joseph Hickey. Madeline Mullen. Jay Regan. Joshua Gilbert. Nicholas Blood. Sophia Griffiths. Olivia Fitzgerald. William Huang. Ryan Puff. Let's give this group a hand. Our next student speaker is Jessica Ash.
Coming into freshman year, it seemed like everyone had a place where they fit in.
Everyone was on a sports team or in a club, and I didn't want either of those things because I'm not the best at sports and none of the clubs seemed like a good fit. But eventually I found what I was truly passionate about. AB Resource Force was the place for me. AB Resource Force is comprised of the Recycling Club, Power Down, and the CAF Project. And each of these teams is dedicated to greening our school. AB Recycling spends a day after school once a week going around and collecting all the recyclables out of every classroom and every office. And they have to push large bins around, and let me tell you, that requires a lot of muscle. Power Down focuses on energy saving, and once a month we come in on a Saturday and spend 3 hours collecting data on our school's energy use. The CAF project greens our cafeteria through recycling, compost, and making sure all the trash is sorted out of these bins. These 3 teams also coordinate with our faculty and staff, connect with other green schools, and research other ways to go green. I became involved with our CAF project because at my camp we compost, and I love my camp more than anything, so when a little aspect of it showed up at the high school, I ran towards it because everyone needs something that can make high school easier. I learned that when you find something you truly love, there are other aspects of life that connect to it, and it makes things much more enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Next, we'll present the ABRHS Community Service Award for 50 hours or more. Would all students holding a card with an orange dot, if you got a 50-hour award, come forward quickly, please. I know there are a lot of you. That's right. Step right up. James Fletcher. Sabrina Vio. Clara Williamson. Alina Khan. Alan Prue. Alexandra Goddard. Jared Hill. Robert Fletcher. Peter Klinkmuller. Jonathan Trusheim. Richard Ding. Tess Fairchild. Alish Tai. Sean Crimmins. Tucker Penny. Toby Shia. The next category is the Service Award for 75 or more hours. Will all the students holding a card with a green dot please come forward? Jolene Campo. Nicholas Hahn. Eric Loverud. Matthew Phillips. David Meshison. Larissa Naidu. David Chapnick. Eamon Perkasaya. Audrey Malloy. John Sabby. Stephen Jin. Mason Liu. Nicholas Griffiths. James Yu. Lindsay Darlow. Joshua Song. Congratulations. Our next student speaker is Tess Little.
Thanks, Mrs. Steves. Hi, everyone. In a minute, I'd like to talk about what I've learned from my volunteer experiences. But first, I'd like to say how proud I am to be part of a community that values and encourages community service. It feels great to be part of a large group of kids who get the opportunity to volunteer, and I'd like to thank the faculty, administration, and our parents for helping make it happen for all of us. Over the last year, I participated in a wide range of community service activities. I organized and participated in fundraising for Kiva, I served on the AB United Way board, and I was involved with the Youth and Philanthropy group. In addition, I was trained as a camp counselor over the summer. I was an ambassador to the incoming freshmen, coached a soccer team, and mentored in the freshman transition English class. I also helped organize Junior Community Service Day and went on a week-long mission trip to Maryland with my church. When I was filling out my Accept the Challenge chart, I noticed two common threads through those activities. One thread involved philanthropy and working with nonprofit organizations such as United Way. Among other things, United Way often sponsors community events. Recently, the United Way brought Chris Herron to the high school to speak on substance abuse. Through my position on the board, I was able to participate in bringing this successful and impactful event to our community. The other thread involved teaching, leading, and being a role model for peers and younger children. I worked with kids a lot this year. This fall, I coached a soccer team with my dad. The girls we coached were 11 and 12, a perfect age because they hadn't learned how to give us attitude, yet. It was clear pretty early on that the girls were listening to my every word and observing my every action. It was such a gratifying experience to be a positive role model for girls just on the verge of adolescence. After looking back at my various experiences, I've realized that not only is volunteer service beneficial to my community, but also that it has helped define me and help me realize what my future may hold. By working with peers and kids, I've realized that my future might hold a teaching career. I've also realized that I might like to go into the Peace Corps after college. I'd be helping people in need by using skills I've developed through community service. In addition, with my experiences working with United Way, Kiva, and YIP, I've realized I might be interested in exploring a career in development for nonprofits. My main point is that by participating in all of these activities, I've learned more about what interests me and where I might be in 5, 10, or 20 years. Like all the kids here, I didn't do any of these things for an award. I did them for the experiences and the learning opportunities. I'd say, based on what I've learned about myself and the impact I've made on others, all of those unpaid hours of work were totally worth it. I hope that everyone in the audience who received an award tonight can say that they, too, have learned something about themselves while serving the community over the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. I'd like to ask Melissa Dempsey and Senior Forrest Gill to help me with the next set of awards. The next 3 sets of awards fall under the category of the President's Student Service Award. Begun under President Clinton and continued under Presidents Bush and Obama, this national program is designed to encourage students to make a significant contribution, meaning a chunk of hours, to community service by offering awards to students who complete at least 100 hours of service in the course of the year, or 50 hours if you're under 15. This year we have 412 students who are receiving the President's Volunteer Service Award, which is pretty impressive. The first group to be recognized is receiving the Bronze Award. Will students with cards with a red dot please come forward? Daniel Horowitz, Natalie Gambone, Alexandra Carey, Catherine Guttitz, Nicholas Long, David DeLeese, Rebecca Shee, Stephanie Randolph, Benjamin Bosbach, Nikita Khan, Samuel Sengas, Kevin Loria, Jesse Shee, Gina Moran, Zach Zambarano, Kevin Kai, Michael Conaby, Caitlin Boheim, Hazel Edwards, Amar Tikku, Rosemary Quinn, Christopher Norton, Samuel Tolman, Rebecca Kane, Dino Papalia, Andrew Collins, Eric Shan, George Wren, Alexandra Ross, Alexander Silva, Austin Keefe, Henry Zhao, Kevin Hugh, William Wu, Andrew Lee, Matthew Larson, Athena Higgins, Alexander Pupo, Alexander Garde, Vrinda Agarwal, Grant Larson, David Quantrill, Christian Thim, Susanna Johnson, Maxwell Harrigan, Richard Yang, Edward Lee, John Gilligan, Suzanne Ilix, Bryn Quirk, Joy Zong, Caroline Cow, Hannah Parlman, Pierce Capaccioni. Congratulations.
Okay. The next group of students receiving the President's Volunteer Service Award is the silver level. Will all students with cards with a blue dot please come forward? Prakar Sahai. Claudia Heim. John Beerwagen. Laura Kassane. Louis Heinlein. Danielle Prue. Nina Yuli. Annalie Hieta Aho. Catherine Allen. Jessica Penny. Jillian Carr. Eliza Putenas. Colin Lee. Ashka Nagarajan. Andrew Dickinson. Kyle Tobin. Grace Heavey. Molly Salent. Brian Barnard. Helen Lay. Mark McNiven. Albert Kong. Georgiana Corpanos. Rachel Tao. Megan Curran. And Quinoa Gao. And now, will all of the recipients with the Presidential Volunteer Service Gold Level Award please come forward? You should all have a purple dot.
Congratulate Forrest first.
And first up, we're going to congratulate Forrest Gill. Forrest Gill. Hi. Jessica Ash. Courtney Gambone. Stephen Barnard. Teresa Little. Namrita Murali. And Forrest.
Annalise McDonald. Akash Purohit. Blaine Carroll. Mark Guan. Spencer Throat. Colin Grady. Kavya Balaji. Shreya Hegda. Kristen Pantano. Lyra Rashbaum. Emily Purdom. Janani Bhaskaran. Niveda Ram. Laura Wills. Shri Harshit Nuvula. Victor Zhang. James Manhers. Niket Gauravram. Pamela Yan. Paul Nelson. Eric Leblundo. Madhuri Joa. Lauren Zhu. Maya Higas. Isabella Shitarelli. Roshni Sahu. Tejas Subramanian. Ankit Datta. Nikhil Srinivasan. David Kisane. Catherine Larkin. Hema Murali. Sean Cottenham. And Lily Hay. Okay. You have heard about the variety of community service activities that AB students participated in during the year. Now we want to show you a few of us in action, from group activities like Senior Community Service Day and the annual Junior Raking Day, to individual volunteering on as coaches, camp counselors, hospital and museum volunteers, volunteers who work with children, with animals, with computers, and with books. We hope you enjoy this retrospective put together by Mr. Drinkwater and some of his students of a slideshow of 2012 community service activities.
I look into the window of my mind, reflections of the fears I know I've left behind. I step out of the ordinary, I can feel my soul ascending. I'm on my way, can't stop me now, and you can do the same, yeah. What have you done today to make you feel proud? It's never too late to try. What have you done today to make you feel proud? You could be so many people if you make that breath for freedom. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Still so many answers I don't know. There are so many answers. Realize that true question is how we grow. The question is to grow. So I step out of the ordinary. I can feel my soul ascending. I'm on my way, can't stop me now. You can do the same, yeah. What have you done today to make you feel proud? It's never too late to try. What have you done today to make you feel proud? You could be so many people if you make that breath for freedom. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, we need a change. Yeah, do it today. Yeah, I can feel my spirit rising and change. Yeah, we need a change. Yeah, so do it today. Yeah, 'cause I can see it never rising. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, let me hear you, let me hear you, let me hear you. So what have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause you could be so many people if you make that breath for freedom. So
Talk about making you proud. That was amazing. It's so fun to see all of those students involved in so many great activities and by all accounts, having fun doing it. I just want to say a couple last words. I want to say, first of all, that this is really one of my favorite nights of the year. It's not because we are honoring students. We actually do that with some frequency around here. We have a lot of awards, a lot of activities, things that kids do that are worthy of recognition. What's nice about this event is that it really recognizes selflessness. We all know that the last thing that Acton and Boxborough Regional High School students have is time. I mean, they laugh when we say that they need 9 hours of sleep. So when students take the time to serve others, we really should, as a community, pause and reflect and honor them. Because this isn't about another state championship or another national this or international that or intergalactic, recognition. This is about honoring the selflessness of each of you here tonight, the time and effort each of you have employed on behalf of others, not yourself. And that's a pretty phenomenal thing, and we're definitely worthy of our community's honor. So I think that's a wonderful thing, and I want to recognize all of you students who are here. Please join us all.
Are you optimistic about the way that things are going? Do I never, ever think of it at all? Don't you ever worry when you see what's going down? Well, I try to mind my business, that is no business at all. When it's time to function,